can validate an idea pretty quickly on Google Trends, and it'll show you aggregated search data to see how popular the idea was.
Welcome to Honest Ecommerce, a podcast dedicated to cutting through the BS and finding actionable advice for online store owners. I'm your host, Chase Clymer, and I believe running a direct-to-consumer brand does not have to be complicated or a guessing game. On this podcast, we interview founders and experts who are putting in the work and creating real results. I also share my own insights from running our top Shopify consultancy, Electric Eye. We cut the fluff in favor of facts to help you grow your e-commerce business. Let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Honest Ecommerce. I'm your host, Chase Clymer, and today, welcoming to the show all the way from sunny Santa Monica, California, Steve Odell from Tenzo Matcha. How are you doing today?
What's going on, Chase? I'm doing really well. I'm excited to chat with an e-commerce expert.
Well, let's see if I can hold it up. You were saying just a second ago, you are visualizing the whole P&L. You see kind of all parts of the business as a CEO, so we'll see where the conversation takes us.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a fun one. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Cool. So for those that are unfamiliar, Tenzo Matcha is a direct-to-consumer brand selling matcha tea, obviously. It's kind of in the name there. But so take me back to, I guess, starting the business, and you were at UCL when you started the business, or was that right around when you were dropping out? Not to spoil it for those that are just...
Yeah. No, I was at UCLA, and I had really gotten into entrepreneurship in college and started helped out with a few D2C companies that some of my buddies were running drop shipping things and such like that. And no, it's really simple beginning. One day I drank like 5 cups of coffee and I felt like crap. Got like super jittery and anxious, was having trouble eating, the whole 9 yards. And I just Googled what's the healthiest form of energy on the planet, and the Google result was matcha. And, it's powder, it's light, it was easy to ship, it's consumable, so you got subscription, and the Google Trends graph. So a great tip for anyone looking to start is you can validate an idea pretty quickly on Google Trends, and it'll show you aggregated search data to see how popular the idea was. And matcha was like, the graph's like sky high up into the right, and I was like, oh man, and there wasn't any competition, so yeah, then that's kind of the starting point.
I mean, we're not even 2 minutes in, and you've already dropped a serious golden nugget there, if we're going to use that term. Google Trends is super cool, but also you kind of highlighted something there, is that you were helping other people in the industry, friends. Did you have any clients? Like, were you learning e-commerce before you started the brand?
Yeah. And so one of my best friends in college, great entrepreneur named Alejandro Rioja, had started a company that was drop shipping portable phone chargers from China and selling them online. So I got to see like how the website worked. I learned about Shopify, and then learned a decent bit of HTML and CSS, so I knew how to, edit a website, let's say. And but yeah, then that was pretty much it. And I was like, if he can make 6 figures as a senior in college a month, it's like, I know what it takes, and I can start my own company too. So,
absolutely. So, what from that lucky day of drinking too much coffee to getting the store up and running, what did that window look like?
Honestly, so we're built on Shopify. The ecosystem there is super great, as you know. The website started out as like a weekend project. It was like me and my co-founder Robbie, one of my best friends. Shout out to Rob. I guess the first step was like, where do you get the product? So one mistake we made really early on, like we were super poor. Like I literally dropped out of college, no money, So we got the Shopify subscription first, like right away on that first week, and we're like, oh, we need the Shopify subscription. But then like, a day later, we're like, all right, well, where do we get the matcha? And so he Googled like how to find matcha suppliers, and we emailed 100 people, and like one person got back to us, and then like 4 months later, we'd already spent like $200 on the Shopify subscription, and we finally got the matcha in, and then launched on a terrible website. We had designed it ourselves, made some theme edits, but designed all the packaging, all the logos. And the gist was that when we first started, we were like really unskilled, and I come from an athletic background, and for us, this was like a long-term play. And so instead of just outsourcing it, we decided to do like literally every single thing in-house, like building the inventory systems, building the website, design, everything. We didn't even have an accountant when we first started. Our QuickBooks was all messed up. But yeah, that's kind of how we got going.
So I love that you started the website before you even had a product to sell. Well, I guess you had a product, but you just didn't actually have it.
Yeah.
So sourcing suppliers, you'd say, is probably something you should do before you activate your Shopify subscription.
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, no brainer. That seems like such an obvious thing, but there's like a whole checklist of things that you really need to run through before you can, open the store, or even before you want to start spending money, especially if you're like literally just getting started. It's like, make sure you're conserving cash as much as possible, because you're going to want to put that into marketing and, other things to grow revenue later on. But, no, we got really lucky. This one guy in Arizona emailed us back and he's like, I can help you out. Like, I'll design all the labels. I have the matcha, and he's just a distributor. And eventually we have different suppliers now, but it was, this guy did private label matcha, sold us 100 units. We bought, like 6 different SKUs, and, we now have one, by the way. Simplicity is a great power in ecom, especially when you're getting started. But yeah, we bought those and then we sold them, got a lot of feedback, edited the packaging, and then, we bought 200 units and then we sold those. And we kind of scaled up to like, maybe 1,000 units at a time with this guy. And then we had enough money. We went to Japan and we met with a bunch of Japanese manufacturers. So now we're going direct to source, no intermediary in the US.
What year was this? Let's talk timelines, because I forgot to bring that up earlier. So how old's the brand? When did you activate the subscription prematurely, and to when now you're going and directly talking to these suppliers?
For the timeline is, it was late in 2016. I had just dropped out, maybe April or May-ish. We started the Shopify store, weekend project in quotes. And and then we went to the 100 units, and then, we really launched in, early 2017. But we didn't get to Japan, so that timeline of like selling 100 units, selling 200 units, 500, 1,000, like anyone who's opened their first Shopify store knows, like, it's not, unless you're a serial entrepreneur or well-funded, it's not this magic, I made $10,000 on my first day. So we had to, learn the ropes, and that took another 6 months, or I guess 5 months. We went to Japan in May of 2017. And then from there, we found like legit suppliers, cut out the middleman, cost of goods went way down, margin goes way up, and the ops get a lot more complex. That's the caveat there. But yeah, we started importing directly from Japan.
Since 2004, Avalara's vision has been to harness the power of cloud technology to help simplify sales tax for businesses of all sizes. Avalara's solutions are designed to affordably scale with businesses as they grow over time. Tax compliance is not a revenue-generating activity, so Avalara's technology is designed to help you manage tax compliance as efficiently and accurately as possible, so you can reclaim your valuable time and reduce risk in your business. With more than 1,000 signed partner integrations, Avalara likely integrates with the ERP, e-commerce, mobile payment, and point-of-sale systems you use today. Find out how your business can be sales tax ready at avalara.com/honest. That's avalara.com/HONEST. Avalara, tax compliance done right. If you're struggling with scaling your sales, maybe Electric Eye can help. Our team has helped our clients generate millions of dollars in additional revenue through our unique brand scaling framework. You can learn more about our agency at electriceye.io. That's ELECTRICEYE.io. Awesome. So let's talk about what you kind of just hinted at there with, selling your first 100, then your first 200, then 500, then 1,000. How were you finding initial success 3 years ago? And then a follow-up question immediately to that is, do you think that same plan would work now?
Actually, yeah. I mean, ours was really grassroots, and again, like, I think it's really about understanding like where you're at personally and the company and the market's at. And matcha was and still is, pretty small. And I'm talking relative to coffee or energy drinks, which I consider like our category competitors. But we talked to friends and family. We didn't have money, so like we couldn't spend a lot on ads in the beginning. So, I was like researching related blog posts, commenting on them, answering Quora questions, posting on LinkedIn, like all this kind of like hackery stuff.
I love it. That the non-scalable way to get your first 100 customers is like just such a SaaS like growth hacking tactic. It's like these are things you can't automate or scale really, but you got to do them at first.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And Paul Graham from YC has like that good analogy, do things that don't scale. And so, we try to take that to heart, maybe too much, but it worked out okay. And
have you listened to that Y Combinator podcast course thing?
I haven't. No, recommended.
Dude, it's like how to start a startup, and it's like Y Combinator, and it's like a series of lectures. I'm like halfway through it right now. It is fantastic.
All right, I'm noting that down. Post this call. I'm gonna jump on it.
Yeah, but that comes up. Do things that don't scale is like the first or second. It's like in the first or second conversation.
Yeah. And another really good one on that kind of same note is like we were really close to the customers, and we still try to be that way. And like what I mean in the beginning is like everything related to D2C, like our website experience, like post-purchase email flows, the messaging is generally messaging. It's like none of that was really nailed. And, it took a lot of one-on-one conversations with people. So, we would literally email them like Rob or I as the founders and be like, hey, like, can you jump on the phone for 20 minutes? Like, we'd love to know like what you think and how we can make this better and, why you bought our product in the first place. And, that was a really formative exercise and something I still do today. Like I try to hop on Zoom calls with customers like once or twice a week, and I have a little spreadsheet and we record all the answers and all that. And but yeah, I mean, if you want to learn and iterate quickly, which is especially important in the beginning to survive, it's like go to the customers, hear them out, and take their feedback and improve. And then they'll recognize it. It builds trust. Like all these things come through with that.
Yeah, it's the non-scalable stuff. Actually talking to customers. I feel like every episode of this podcast there's some form of talk to your customers comes up, and it's people just don't realize it's that simple. Like just go and ask them like what they think about your products and why they did or didn't buy, and the insights are just truly insane. They're like, oh well, we didn't buy because the website's broken, and you're like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Well, our checkout button doesn't work. Yeah.
Our partner Rewind can protect your Shopify store with automated backups of your most important data. Rewind should be the first app you install to protect your store against human error, misbehaving apps, or collaborators gone bad. It's like having your very own magic undo button. Trusted by over 80,000 businesses, from side hustles to the biggest online retailers like Gymshark, Gatorade, and Movement Watches. Best of all, merchants like you can get 1 month of automated Shopify backups for free by visiting rewind.io/honest. That's rewind.io/honest. So when, I guess this is a new question that I've been trying to ask, is like, when did things kind of change and you're like, oh, this is a real business now? Like what was like the kind of like the moment when you're like, well, I think this thing's working. Like we've made it per se. Like you're like, this is a real business.
I would say not until like the last few months. I mean, jumping ahead in the timeline, like we've, tripled revenue every year, or a little bit more. And it's been a really good run. But like the first year, like I said, we were so inexperienced. Like we didn't know what the heck was going on. So another like huge mistake that we made, which I would never recommend any other founder, especially right now, is we got an office in Santa Monica on the second floor of a building with no elevator that we were shipping our own orders out. So we're growing Ecom, and at this point we started selling into cafes as well. And that's a big part of our business too. And, we were getting pallets of boxes in the middle of a busy Santa Monica street, and the truck would stop in the middle of the road, unload a pallet, and it'd be like this huge nightmare. And I would get like our whole team down there, and we're all just like carrying boxes upstairs. It was a nightmare. It cost us so much money, and, just a big learning experience. And so we were stuck in that office for like 2 years. So that was, a really, really poor decision. But, we learned a lot about optimizing, and, eventually moved to a 3PL. And that was like, the best thing that ever happened.
I can just see you guys frantically sprinting to unload your trucks and get them inside. And
All these cars are just honking. Everyone's like super annoyed with us, dude. It was not a good experience.
oh, that's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So moving to a 3PL, that's a really fun little topic there. So when in your opinion, when do you think a brand is ready for 3PL? When should they stop doing self-fulfillment? Is it a number of revenue per month? Is it numbers of orders shipped? When did it make sense for you?
Yeah, I think it's fundamentally a cost analysis, and there's this good expression I like to follow now is not just winging it, and I just call it like doing the math. It's really simple, and you get a lot better at it over time. But just modeling it out, and so I don't think it's necessarily a revenue number. I think it's more about orders per month, and then what's the cost in the 3PL, and how much time are you going to save, and another good kind of lesson for people that are just starting. I mean, like just starting like shipping out of your house type thing. You know, you don't want to do it too early because it can get really expensive and you might not need it. So there's this other expression like bursting at the seams. And so I have like videos of our old apartment, with me in my bedroom, and there's like tea like stacked up like everywhere. Like even in like the open space in the middle of the room, there's like a column that just goes up to the ceiling. And I have like 1 square foot where I can like weasel my way into the closet to like grab my clothes, but like otherwise it's just pure tea. So, if you look at videos of like other successful companies, like the Gymshark founder has a lot of good videos of him in his house and is just surrounded by packages. So it's like you can kind of feel it if you just look around, and there's packaging materials, there's Uline boxes coming every single day, and then it's like get the heck out of there, but don't get an office.
Businesses are the most successful when they own their own data, customer relationships, and their growth. That's why more than 50,000 e-commerce brands, big and small, trust Klaviyo to deliver their ideal customer experience. Klaviyo is the ultimate e-commerce marketing platform for online brands of all kinds and all sizes. With email automation, SMS marketing, list growth tools, and more, you'll get everything you need to build strong relationships that keep your customers coming back. If you're tired of relying too heavily on paid advertising or third-party marketplaces for your sales success, you're not alone. It's time to take back control of the customer experience. More and more online businesses are moving to Klaviyo to grow higher value customer relationships through personalized email and SMS marketing, and the results are staggering. Ready to drive future sales and higher customer lifetime value with a marketing platform built for your long-term growth? You should get a free trial of Klaviyo over at klaviyo.com/honest. That's KLAVIYO.com/HONEST. With doing the math, where does your time factor into those equations?
That's a big one, and obviously that's a really challenging one. But Naval is a pretty common modern philosopher these days, and he has and he's also the CEO of AngelList, really successful angel investor. He's got this, philosophy that like founders should put their hourly costs at like $500 to $1,000 an hour. And if you can afford it, and if you're doing anything that's cheaper than that value, then you need to delegate it or just drop it entirely. And, so I try to live by that. It doesn't always work out perfectly. But
there's some stuff that you just love doing.
Yeah, exactly. But and then that's the battle is like, to really grow the company, like you just need to let go. And, I've been trying to really focus on doing that thing a lot more now, and like letting go control of the brand. And we have a full-time brand manager now, and, I just defer. I'm not trying to, weasel my way into packaging decisions anymore or really specific design edits. It's just like let her handle it and trust the process.
Yeah, it's so hard to like see stuff happening where you just kind of like understand like, oh, what's going on here? This is cool, but then like also not your weight. Like as like I'm like one of the founders of our agency, so like I forget sometimes like what I say is like gold and it's like super important, but like I might just like swing by and say something like kind of off the cuff, and then it changes the whole conversation on accident. It's like so hard to remember that you got to like let things happen and like be very cautious about what you're bringing to the conversations when they already have a game plan in place.
Yeah, no, I could not agree more, man. I have to catch myself doing that too. And it is really difficult, but sometimes it's just better to hold your tongue and, not say anything and just let the conversation go and develop, and, trust that your people are going to get it done, and, and have checks and balances in place too. And, quality checks at different points. But, when you're having meetings, like, you just can't like derail things. It's just like, that's a nightmare. And, I think that's part of, becoming a better leader and growing as an entrepreneur and founder though. So I'm hopeful that I will get better at it over time.
I think no one starts a business of any sort, service or product or what have you, and goes into it with the expectation of, I'm going to be the best leader ever. It's more like that entrepreneurial burn is like what drives you to do it. And then you're like, oh wait, the hard stuff is like all this leadership and this like management stuff. Like, that's the hard stuff. The rest of this I didn't realize was like, you just got to work at it and you're going to figure most of it out.
Yeah, exactly. At this point, that's like where I'm at right now. It's like, we have a bunch of team members and, so many agencies that we're working with. And, most of my day now is just like, approving things and meeting with people and making sure that, everything's moving forward. But like 50% of it is like, getting everyone motivated and hyped to come to work in the morning, and they want to show up and, perform their best. So I've been really trying to focus on, getting the team to operate at their best level every single day, and, just really staying out of their way, as much as possible.
Yeah, enabling them to do the best work, and, however you can do that, giving them the resources to do that best work. And it's sounds easy, but it's super hard.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like, you just catch yourself like, pardon my French, but like shooting the shit. And it's like, at some point you just can't do that. There's got to be this employer, employee relationship, and it's not like you're a meeting
That's
person,
true. But it's the stuff that you find in those conversations are just super, super important. I recall a conversation I had about 2 weeks ago with our lead developer, and he just said something kind of like off the cuffs during the conversation. And I was like, well, that's wrong, and that shouldn't be happening. And it made us figure out where the process was broken and how to make things better, got everyone more aligned, and, it fixed things. So, that's one thing that I kind of miss about having an office because that stuff would just happen like way more organically. But now with everything remote, it's a little bit more difficult to do that. We have one-on-ones every week with every team member, but it's, as the team scales, it's a little bit more difficult to do that.
Yeah, and that's another challenge I think everyone's facing right now too, is like, how do you deal with a fully remote team? And, like, you can't have those like water cooler conversations like you just mentioned, where things just pop out, and you really have to put in the time and effort to, one, keep the team in sync, and then also, make time to figure out those problems and see like, what are you really dealing with today, and like what's hard, and what do you think might be going wrong, and, asking those questions in a way that is motivating and inspiring though.
Hey everybody, do you want to win back valuable lost time for your support team? Gorgias has machine learning functionality that takes the pressure off small support teams and gives them the tools to manage a large number of inquiries at scale, especially during the holiday season. Gorgias combines all your different communication channels like email, SMS, social media, live chat, and even phone into one platform, and gives you an organized view of all of your customer inquiries. Their powerful functionality can save your support team hours per day and makes managing customer orders a breeze. They have allowed online merchants to close tickets faster than ever with the help of pre-written responses integrated with customer data to increase the overall efficiency of customer support. Their built-in automations also free up time for support agents to give better answers to complex product-related questions, providing next-level support, which helps increase sales, brand loyalty, and recognition. Eric Brandholtz, the founder of Beard Brand, says, "We're a 7-figure business, and we have essentially one person on customer support and experience. It's impossible to do it without tools like Gorgias to help us innovate." Learn how to level up your customer support by speaking to their team here. Visit gorgias.grsm.io/honest. That's gorgias.grsm.io/honest. Yeah, we follow the traction model. I don't know if you're familiar with that book. That's kind of how we run the business as the operations. But then we also threw in like the guys from Basecamp, like it doesn't have to be crazy at work mentality. So we've stripped it of like all the meaningless meetings. So like we have 2 major meetings a week. We set up for stuff that can't be hammered out in like some asynchronous conversation through Basecamp is what we use, but it could be like Asana or whatever project management software is. And then we have one-on-ones that are more about like, how are things, any big issues, how are you working towards your goals? And, it's definitely takes buy-in from the team culturally to be able to kind of work in an independent environment. But, it goes down to hiring. You got to hire people that are going to fit what you guys are looking to do.
The best people possible. Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, we do one-on-ones too. And our kind of management philosophy is like we do Gantt charts and OKRs. And so we just track annually towards, revenue goals as primary metric. And then we have all these secondary metrics like churn, LTV, CPA, all that stuff.
Awesome. Hey, that was a great little tangent down a rabbit hole about management and just the difficulties of growing a team. But let's get back to what I know people love nowadays. So you guys are doing great. You kind of mentioned that, recently it's felt like, oh, this is a business now. This thing's really doing it.
Yep.
So what's going on now? How has like your marketing landscape shifted? Where are you guys spending a lot of your time? How are you driving revenue?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, overall, like to give like one more quick background point, Tenzo has 3 main channels. They're all well beyond 7 figures at this point. And one is our bulk business. So like we make matcha products with other CPG companies. So we're in Costco nationwide, Whole Foods nationwide, all these things with other brands. And then the second one is the cafe business, and that one like grew like wildfire when we first started.
I just want to interrupt you here. So it sounds like you have two different wholesale-esque channels.
Yeah. So it gets quite complicated actually. It's weird because like we're only selling one product, but yeah, bulk is like big companies, truckloads. We're filling up an entire plane or multiple. Pallets on boats, like what have you. And then
now is that your product or is that white labeled product or partnered product?
Yeah, so it's different depending on the deal. So some of the largest deals, they don't want to do it where it shows as Tenzo on the label at all. So we're just selling the product as an ingredient and they manufacture it. Other ones, we also have branded products as well. So it really depends on the other company. And then for the cafe business, that's pretty much all branded products. We have point of purchase signs that are in all the cafes and all that stuff. And hopefully the pandemic, wanes down here and then we'll be back to business there quite a bit. But yeah, and then the third channel is D2C. So started out, not doing subscription, also a bad decision. So, if you have a consumable product that people are going to go through on a certain time span, then it's like get them on subscription ASAP. One of the reasons we didn't do it is because we had really, really terrible data. And we didn't understand what the LTV was. We didn't understand how to map like repurchase rate into LTV with one-time purchases. And it caused us to go through like this really weird, like slowly climbing, but also like up and down, up and down, up and down as we like, spent more on marketing and then pulled back because we were nervous about LTV and spent more and that kind of back and forth. But yeah, I mean, I guess one of the biggest learnings that we've had with Ecom is like getting really good at data. That has been like, cornerstone kind of lessons. And once you're comfortable with payback periods, LTV and CPA, then it's like you just can't spend enough money. And that's where we're at right now. Like we're just spending every single dollar possible into paid right now.
So the math again comes back. E-commerce comes down to the math. The super simple concept to understand is like, if you know your average order value, your traffic, and your conversion rate, you can pretty much guess what you're going to make in any given month.
Yep.
And then from there, you can kind of reverse engineer what you can pay to acquire more traffic and all that stuff. But the wild card in that whole scenario is like, what can I afford beyond that with LTV? And that, unfortunately, there is no one-size-fits-all equation, I don't think. I think it truly depends on the type of brand. Because if I'm selling a $500 luxury product that should be like a buy for life, like a really, really nice leather jacket, that's something completely different than a tee like you have that is, I'm going to run out of that, once a month.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we call that day zero profitability versus like a 6 month payback, and as the company's matured, we've been able to like one, get more data. So like as you grow, there's this natural, compounding effect of more data equals better understanding of the data equals more efficient spending. And so we've been able to extend the payback period quite a bit now. So we can therefore bid at much higher CPAs, which allow us to grow faster. And so I mean, like, dude, that is the golden secret right there.
All right, so I'm going to ask a question that I've asked a lot of questions in this episode that I knew you already knew the answer to. And by the way, this is the first time me and Steve have ever met or talked. But once you're in this game for long enough, the secrets are all the same.
Yep.
What are your lead times with your like wholesale orders for, like, what, do you guys have a float with kind of how the money works?
Oh my God, this is a nightmare. Okay, so it depends a lot on the size of the deal. Are you buying 10,000 pounds or are you buying 2 pounds? And for the cafes, the lead time is very short. We have several distributors we work with that can ship. They ship like day of, and they'll get it there in 3 to 5 days or faster. And then, but for the really large bulk deals, yeah, the payment cycles are totally brutal, and they eat up a ton of cash. And that it can be anywhere from 4 weeks to 8 weeks. If the order is $1 million, then it might take a little bit longer. Because we want to put that on a boat. Like that's another big tip. It's like when you're really small, you typically can't buy things that in large enough volumes to put them on boats and containers, and you have to air freight them. So you're going to save a lot of money. Like there's some really good margin expansion once you get into boat shipping, but yeah, for the really big orders, we got to put them all on boats. And payment terms are like, it could be anywhere from we need to pay 90 days ahead of time or 60 days ahead of time. And we get it to the customer 60 days later. And then the payment terms with them, for the really big deals are typically 60 to 90 more days. So the cash cycle is like, can be anywhere from like 120 to 180 days to turn around that cash.
Yeah, and so essentially what Steve and I are talking about here, to bring it back down to earth for people, that if this is like a 300 level conversation, I'd say, is once you hit a certain point, it's all about how you manage your cash flow, because once you purchase a product, it is essentially just money sitting there, and you need to stop using more expensive forms of money, i.e. credit. So you have to find vendors that will allow you better terms, and you have to be a little bit more strict with your wholesale purchases to be less friendly terms, to try to speed up how fast you're getting paid back. Because the quicker you can move that money in and out, the faster you can grow.
Yeah, exactly. That's like one of the most important, concepts of our whole company right now. And it literally, it's so much so that it'll dictate the valuation that Tenzo will get. If Ecom can turn the cash 12 times in a year or something, so your payment terms are structured as you buy the tee, but you're not paying for it for 60 days. You're buying 60 days worth of product at a time. You're going through all that inventory before you even need to pay for it. It's like, that's how it's done. But the bulk business is, we've negotiated so many times at this point. It's just like they're whittled down, and we have as best of terms as possible. But yeah, Ecom will justify a much higher valuation on revenue than the bulk channel would.
Now, that's a whole other conversation, and I'm going to have to ask you that offline, because I don't want to ask you something you can't answer. But I do want to say now, with the direct-to-consumer channel, you've obviously got the Shopify store. Are you also doing through third-party marketplaces like Amazon or eBay or Walmart or anything like that?
No, not yet. Yeah, we're not. I'm trying to delay that as long as humanly possible. And really it's just about focus, and I don't know if we need to go, and I don't think we actually can. Like our D2C business is literally like popping off right now, and part of that I think is from the pandemic, but we did like 10x D2C growth last year, from the year prior. So that was just, that's hard. All around cash, revenue, supply chain breaking down. There's a lot of issues, man. So if we can do that, I think we should be able to do like 5 to 8x growth this year again on top of that. And that's about as much as we can like handle as a company right now.
Sometimes it hits a point where you have to focus, and if you start trying to do too many things at once, you're going to hurt the business.
Yeah, exactly. So and that's another thing is like in the beginning we had 5 SKUs and we tried to do all these things. We tried to sell into corporate offices and just a bunch of weird stuff, like even like military organizations, like basically like anywhere that you could buy matcha, like we would try to sell there. And that was just a poor decision. And we had a conversation, maybe a year ago now with, a guy at VMG, he's like a very, very famous investor. And he was just like really articulating the importance of, the right sales versus sales. And like, that's I say that it's pretty abstract and it's difficult for like a first time founder to understand, but like, it's really, really important to like, know what you're doing and know the margins and all that stuff. And, make sure you're not wasting a lot of time doing things that are, totally in left field.
Yeah, just the human capital requirement to make any wholesale deal or bulk deal, as you put it over there, is the same regardless of if it's the right or wrong deal. And there is only a finite amount of time in a day. And I agree so much. It's got to be the right sale.
Yep. Yeah, and on the ecom side, that's like, it's basically comes down to, am I acquiring this customer profitably? Is it profitably on day 0, like you mentioned, or is it profitable in 6 months? Either way, you better hope it's profitable, or you're going to end up like Casper or, one of these big D2C companies that when they go public or, they have a later round and all the financials become public, it's like they're going to get butchered, and the value, you're going to have a down round and, unfortunate things can happen.
Absolutely. Steve, this was a fantastic conversation. It was really fun exploring all this stuff with you. Is there anything I forgot to ask you about that you think is worth sharing today?
No, I mean, if anyone wants to buy Tenzo, it's a great product and it's a good supplement, or switch from coffee or energy drinks. You got a little bit of caffeine, but also L-theanine, so you feel like a calm, focused energy. So check out tenzotea.co. Gotta do the shameless plug, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'll put a link to the description in the show notes. I believe you even were nice enough to put a discount code in there too, so I'll make sure that's in there as well.
Yep.
Steve, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, Chase, it was a pleasure. We'd love to connect more offline with you too, see how we can collab.
All right. I can't thank our guests enough for coming on the show and sharing their knowledge and journey with us. We've got a lot to think about and potentially add into our own business. You can find all the links in the show notes. Make sure you head over to honestecommerce.co to check out all of the other amazing content that we have. Make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and obviously, if you're thinking about growing your business, check out our agency at electriceye.io. Until next time.